Right now, somewhere in a vast African savanna, a lion is watching. Still as stone, eyes locked on a herd of wildebeest grazing just close enough. The hunt hasn't started yet, but it's already decided. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. That lion, the apex predator, the top of the food chain, the animal we call invincible, is terrified of something. Not prey, not the darkness, something else entirely. And the answer isn't what you'd expect from an animal that can bring down a buffalo with its bare jaws. The answer lies in one of the most ancient rules nature ever invented. A rule so quietly powerful that it shapes which animals exist, how many of them there are, where every single one of them dares to go, and, most importantly, what they refuse to eat. Scientists call it the trophic system. It's not glamorous, it doesn't have claws or teeth, but it is older than any predator alive, and it governs every single one of them. Once you understand it, you'll never look at a lion, a wolf, or a shark the same way again. Back in 1942, a young ecologist named Raymond Lindem was studying a small, quiet lake in Minnesota. He wasn't chasing predators, he wasn't tracking migrations, he was asking something that sounded almost boring. Where does energy go in nature? What he found shook the science world to its core. Energy doesn't just flow through nature, it shrinks. Every time one animal eats another, roughly 90% of that energy is lost, gone, burned off as heat, as movement, as the simple cost of being alive. Only 10% passes on to the next level. Picture it like this. You pour a full bucket of water into a funnel, and only a trickle comes out the other side. That trickle is what predators have to survive on. What this means for large carnivores is staggering. To stay alive, a single apex predator needs to consume enormous amounts of prey, consistently, reliably, constantly. The system is expensive, in every direction, and at the very top of that system, there is almost nothing left. Think about what that actually means on the ground. A single wolf needs to eat roughly 15 to 20 pounds of meat every few days to maintain its body weight and energy. That's not a number it can skip. Miss enough meals and the wolf doesn't just get hungry, it gets slow. And a slow predator is a dead predator. The math of survival at the top is unforgiving in a way that most animals never face. Now you might think, fine. If energy is so scarce, wouldn't a wolf be happy to eat another wolf? That's meat, isn't it? Easy meal, right? But that's not what you think it is. Killing another predator isn't an easy meal. It's one of the most dangerous gambles in the wild. A wolf doesn't go down quietly. It bites back, hard. It has the same speed, the same endurance, the same teeth, and the same ferocious desperation. And desperation in nature is the most dangerous thing of all. An injured animal fighting for its life is not a meal, it's a trap. Here's where the science gets fascinating. Researchers Gary Polis, C.A. Myers, and Robert Holt published a landmark study in 1989 on what they called intraguild predation, the rare, specific cases when predators do eat other predators. What they found wasn't a strategy of dominance or brute power. It was a strategy of cold, calculated risk management. Predators kill other predators only under very specific conditions, when the competitor is young, badly injured, or cornered with nowhere to run. Never as a first choice, always as a last resort. The risk of injury in a fight between two healthy apex predators is so catastrophically high that even a single wound, a torn muscle, a broken tooth, a deep bite, can become a death sentence in the wild. There are no hospitals out there, no recovery periods. A limp means you can't chase prey, and if you can't chase prey, you starve. The calculation is always the same. Is this fight worth dying for? Let that sink in for a moment. The animal we imagine as fearless is running a constant, exhausting cost-benefit analysis just to stay alive for one more day. And the story goes even deeper than just individual risk, because the energy problem isn't only about what any single predator chooses to eat, it physically determines how many predators can exist at all on a given piece of land. Think about it in layers. A forest can hold thousands of rabbits, feeding on grass and roots and leaves. Those rabbits can support hundreds of foxes, but those foxes can support only a handful of wolves. And those wolves, they might support no other predator at all above them. The pyramid gets ruthlessly, mathematically narrow at the very top. This is not a coincidence. This is geometry. Predators don't avoid each other just because fighting is dangerous. They avoid each other because there simply aren't enough of them in the same place to make fighting worth it. Scarcity creates distance. Distance creates caution. Caution over millions of years becomes instinct. This is the invisible architecture of nature. Not dramatic, not loud. Just mathematics, playing out in every shadow, every grassland, every ocean trench on Earth. But there's something even darker lurking underneath all of this. Something that the 2017 research by Blavin, Tartu, and Bustamante brought into terrifying focus. The higher you sit in the food chain, the more toxins accumulate in your body over time. Mercury, persistent organic pollutants, chemicals that never fully break down. Every prey animal a predator eats carries a small load of these substances, and that load passes upward and concentrates at each level. By the time you reach the true apex, the orca, the polar bear, the golden eagle, the concentrations of these toxic compounds are astronomically higher than in any animal below them. Being at the top isn't just costly in energy, it isn't just physically dangerous, it is poisonous. Literally, measurably, chemically poisonous. The throne of the food chain comes with a price that takes years to pay, and it's paid in the body itself, quietly, invisibly, one meal at a time. So what shaped all of this? When did this delicate, expensive, razor-thin system at the very top become what we see today? Here's the turning point. About 66 million years ago, an asteroid the size of a city struck the Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. In one geological instant, or close enough to instant that it barely registers on the timeline of life, the largest, most powerful predators that had ever walked this planet were erased, from absolute dominance to dust to an eerie, ringing silence that lasted millions of years. The ecological niches they left behind slowly, cautiously began to refill, but not with anything as massive, as energetically costly, or as apex of apex as what had existed before. Evolution, it seems, learned a lesson from that catastrophe. The new predators that emerged were smaller, more metabolically efficient, more strategically careful. The age of the true megapredator, the kind of animal that might have genuinely, casually, routinely preyed on other apex carnivores, was over. Permanently. Nature never rebuilt that architecture, and we are living in the world that came after. What this reveals about the natural world is something quietly extraordinary, something that runs completely counter to how we usually imagine the wild. Strength in nature is not the point. Efficiency is the point. Survival is not won by the animal that can destroy everything around it. It is won by the animal that destroys just enough, risks just enough, and conserves everything else. Predators don't avoid each other out of fear alone. They avoid each other because of a logic so ancient, so deeply embedded in the molecular structure of life itself, that it predates teeth, predates claws, predates even the concept of a predator. Energy moved through living things long before anything was alive that could hunt. The rules were written in chemistry, not in muscle. These animals just follow them. So ask yourself this: what if the most powerful force shaping the animal kingdom isn't strength, or speed, or ferocity, but the cold, patient, utterly indifferent math of energy? What if every roar echoing across a darkened plain, every chase through tall grass at 40 miles an hour, every snarl and circling standoff between two great carnivores, is just an animal trying to balance an equation it never chose, cannot read, and can never escape? What if the apex predator, the animal we look at and feel something close to awe, is actually one of the most tightly constrained, most precisely bounded creatures alive, freer than anything below it, and more trapped than almost anything else? That lion is still watching the wildebeest. The sun has dropped further now, the savanna burning orange, then copper, then finally that deep bruised purple just before dark. And the lion still hasn't moved, not because it can't, because it's waiting for exactly the right moment, the moment when the odds are good enough, the cost is low enough, the energy equation finally tips in its favor. That is the lion's real power, not the kill, the waiting. In the end, the king of the savanna is not a creature of unlimited force. It is a creature of extraordinary, almost mathematical restraint. Every choice it makes, including every choice it doesn't make, is the product of 66 million years of hard, unforgiving lessons written into its blood. And the next time you watch a predator move through its world, silent and deliberate and patient, remember that the most remarkable thing about it isn't what it's willing to do. It's everything. The risks, the fights, the meals that it has decided over millions of years never to do.